My name is Jovanny Hernandez, and I'm just going to be showcasing some of the work I've been developing for the last 7 years, all the way leading up or starting from when I first went back home to Oaxaca in 2017, all the way to the latest trip back here or back home in 2023. So kind of a little bit more of the background. Every year I only get to go back home once or 2 weeks out of the year. And through this, it's very important for me to document my journey and my life, and being reunited with my family. So kind of like this last iteration was focused on creating this archive of my family using analog photography. The use of analog photography for me became this method of reverse anthropology, where I'm recreating an archive that has been, lost, forgotten, and just continuing to capture these very intimate moments of my journey, but also of my family. So kind of coming back here into the States, doing a lot of context sheets and test prints to really see how do I visualize this project moving forward. There was the idea of kind of doing just simple printed images in a frame, but I knew that these images needed to be elevated to a certain extent through the use of an experience. I think that for me, pushing photography and its boundaries to exist more than just a 2D image on a wall, but a 3D object that interacts with time and space. So kind of doing that research from my side and, seeing what experience do I want to showcase to my viewer and to my audience. One of the key moments in my life was like the first time learning about my family's history was at at the Milwaukee Public Museum, and seeing like these artifacts that, belong to my ancestors behind glass. And being a young kid, being exposed to these experiences really shaped me to, think about my family being, this primitive past, although, the attire and the tools are still used today here in Milwaukee through my parents, but also back in Oaxaca through my grandparents and my uncles and aunts. So I knew I wanted to really focus and create that experience of like, all right, how do I recreate these, styles and aesthetics of a museum? And a lot of it was kind of following, the wood color, like, creating the separation with glass. And these were kind of like my early mock-ups of that project. And I was like, all right, I want the images to, be able to be seen, but on a timer system where, you can't see anything, but you only see your reflection, kind of mimicking that experience of that I had as a kid. And same thing with like the shadow box sort of piece. I wanted to showcase some of these items I've collected throughout my journey that have been passed down, from my grandparents to me, and, seeing like, how can I share them with the people here in Milwaukee, but also, kind of put into focus that, these are still used today. These are my family's items. So these were kind of the couple first, process of like creating test print piece that was going to be displaying the objects, and then transition into creating these intricate light boxes in order to really figure out how can I put this idea that I had at the beginning of the year into motion and really try to create that experience. And these were kind of like the final images I ended up choosing, just because I believe it reflected really well. All of these images, I believe, are portraits of different kind of moments or different things that I experienced. So, these first two images, although they're focused on like a building or of a location, in reality, they're portraits of, my family's village, or a portrait of my father, in particular, because that is his home. And same things with these kind of other three images where it's like, these are portraits of my grandparents, all three of them. That is their home, that is the mountain that my mom grew up in, and, where my grandparents still live today. And of course, my grandfather with kind of the tools he uses to take care of his livestock. And then, this was kind of like the final, all right, how am I going to showcase these? How am I going to display these? And it was putting up all 6 light boxes with the cabinet sort of shadow box thing in the middle. And this is kind of like a more detailed look of what it looks like down below, or like, kind of a bird's eye view of that piece. And it contained various items such as stone arrowheads that belong to my ancestors, a stone rosary belonging to my great grandmother, and just various other things that, I've picked up. And this is kind of like a quick sort of sped up video of that timer system, just showcasing, how these were experienced, if you were to walk in there and, the timer and like the reflections. And then kind of what are my next steps? So for me, I am doing a lot of things here in Milwaukee. Currently, I have work up at No Studios where I'm displaying some of the images I took at the beginning of the year in Oaxaca, and going more in depth and through a documentary that was released talking about sort of the photo work I do here in Milwaukee and in Oaxaca. And then I'm also completing my artist residency at Arts at Large, where I'm really creating a body of work focus on community, such as like the mural behind me, and seeing how I can invite more artists, specifically those on the South Side, and just create more beautiful pieces that is community driven. Thank you.